What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding. I'm joined by Aaron Pilates and Michael Galley for another episode of a Weekly Bodybuilding Breakdown, episode number 2. Boys, how are we doing? We'll start with you, Mick. How you been?
I'm good. I'm just admiring Aaron's backdrop, which looks fantastic. Yeah, good. We just had a stupid 3-day lockdown here for when was it? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we got out of that Friday night, which was great. So everyone got back to the gym Saturday, and I just don't see the point in that lockdown at all. That's probably what Aaron agrees.
Yeah, same thing. It's just hilarious. Like, you have the State of Origin, full stadium of people, like literally jam-packed full of people. Then we're on a lockdown, can't go anywhere. And then the gym was opening, so we were closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This is the funniest thing. The gym was opening at 6 p.m. So I put a status up saying, oh, lucky that they didn't open the gym at 4 p.m. because we all got COVID, 100% we've all died of COVID, do you know what I mean? So luckily at 6 p.m., the COVID was all gone. So I went to the gym at 6 p.m. when they opened. There was like 200 people. The gym was full, man. I'd never seen the gym this packed. It was actually the best session I had in ages. It was hard to get a machine, but it's like everyone was only 3 days away from the gym, but everyone went at 6, bro.
Yeah, and everyone would have been trained hard too. So it'd be probably
it was actually pumping. Like it was actually really good. It was hard to get a machine, like I said, but we're all making so many jokes, like how ridiculous that lockdown, how it makes 0 sense, man. But
as I love your backdrop. I feel like eating coconuts.
It makes me feel better because I feel like I'm on holiday, seeing I'm not allowed to go on a holiday again for the rest of my life. So I'll just pretend that I'm overseas.
And you lost your arm during the week too, Az.
Yeah, I lost my arm, so hang on, I can't do it now.
It's not working.
There it goes.
Shake it around.
Yeah, there you go. I've only got a little knob now. So
You've already got a little knob now.
I can wiggle it.
Oh man, it looks like you're waving. I love it. All right. But let's get into a few topics because we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. And I wanted to discuss the 212 Olympia because it's a pretty tightly contested contest this year. There's going to be a ton of guys. And obviously, Aaron, you obviously in 2019 came top 10 in the world in the 212. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to discuss with you sort of what you think about, I suppose, going into this 212 Olympia, because there's a bunch of guys sort of on the radar that could potentially win this. Obviously, you got Sean Clarita, who won it last year. You got Derek Lunsford, who's coming back. I thought he might switch to the open, but it seems like he's staying in that 212 under Honey Rambod. You've got tons of really good names sort of right up there at the top. Obviously, Kamala Gargany coming back. There's Keone Pearson, if he obviously qualifies, which I assume he will for this Olympia. Who are you sort of liking and favoring to win that 212 Olympia in 2021?
Oh yeah, it's going to be stacked. That's for sure. Because for example, you got John Jewett, who's pretty good bodybuilder, and then he's even struggling to qualify at the moment. It's going to be, which I'm sure he'll qualify next round. I think he should have probably already qualified. As one of those shows I feel like he should have won. But the guy that you interviewed a couple of weeks ago, he looked really good as well. What was his name? Had the dreadlocks. I think he won. Was it Chicago?
Oh yeah, Tony Burton.
Yeah, he's another new face. He's another new face that's popping into the lineup. It's going to be a really stacked lineup, but it's actually freaking me out how good Sean is actually getting. So Clarita,
yeah,
he just seems to be he's just really turned it on the last 2 years. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, there's the photo of John. I commented on this today.
Yeah, he looks awesome.
He just looks mad there. I like John. He's a good dude. He's really smart. He's got a really intelligent approach. I like how he goes into detail about everything he does. He's very specific on his approach to training and managing his volume and even his drug protocols and stuff. He's very open with it and big on his bloods, and he's a switched on guy. He's a good person, I think, to have in the limelight for the bodybuilding, to set a good example. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And he looks awesome here. He looks way fuller than he looked for his last prep.
Yeah, he's playing around obviously with his protocols. He's trying different stuff every time. But that look there to me is bang on. I can't see the rear shot, but because sometimes it's a tough thing. To be at your absolute fullest of the full, you can look mad from the front at 100% fullness. But if you go to that same level of fullness, you're a little bit soggy from the rear. So
absolutely.
it's a very finicky thing. Like, you see how he looks really good there. He looks bigger than ever there, broad, everything's tight, and he's full as the house. He probably doesn't have as much details from the rear with that look. Like, it's a bit of some guys, it's a fine line. Like, he was really sharp for the last show, but I think he was a little bit like me in the Olympia, almost too sharp where he's a little bit flat.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fine line with him. I reckon he has a similar battle to what I have sometimes, where you're pushing so hard to condition. Because remember, he had that one show, I think it was the Olympia last year, he came way off in condition.
Yeah.
It was way off, man, compared to when he competed against me. And then I think he never wanted to do that again. So he's always very strict on getting his condition right now. But now he's playing that battle between fullness and just pushing it too far. But yeah, that today is that hopefully if he can nail that. Is it this weekend he competes, I think?
I'm not even sure, man, when the actual
Chicago. So Chicago's 1 week out, isn't it?
I think it's 3 weeks or 2 weeks to Chicago. I'm pretty sure it's 3.
I remember
I think
Labrada put a post up saying 14 days out or something like that.
Oh, did he? Okay, must be 2 then. Okay, sweet.
Cool, yeah, because anyway, I reckon John will qualify. But back to your question, it just freaks me out how good Sean's getting, man. Like, he just looks bigger and freakier as talk about Sean Clarida. Just as he's really found his niche. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And I reckon he's going to be hard to beat, bro. But if I had to, it's going to be a crazy lineup. But another thing is, how hard is it to knock Keone?
Yeah, he's absolutely crazy. I'll bring up Keone Pearson.
Like, to me, Keone is the most genetically gifted bodybuilder I would have almost ever come across in our era.
Yeah, absolutely. Mick, what do you think about Keone Pearson? Do you think he's just a future 212 Mr Olympia waiting to happen? Because
he's an absolute freak. He's just got to. He's still got to bring that conditioning head to toe, rear and front. I mean, you look at, and as I thought last year, being at the Olympia and pretty close, I thought you could have placed top 6 in that Olympia last year. Sean and Kamal, to me, that was pretty close. That was a tight competition. I think Kamal had better muscle spread out evenly over his physique, but Sean brought that real freaky, full, muscle popping look. So he's obviously the favourite, being the defending champion. But I mean, you look at Keone here, like, you can't really, like, that's a great guest posing sort of shot.
Do you know who he reminds me of there, Mick? He reminds me of like a almost fuller Brian Buchanan, like with the waist section.
Yeah.
Keone, like, if Keone can nail condition, like the thing with Clarida, man, he nails fullness and condition every time, man. Like, when I competed against him, he's as full as you possibly could be. Like Sean looks like he's about to explode, and you can't knock his condition whatsoever. Where Keone has the best genetic shape of anyone on the stage, muscle bellies, but it's not freaky condition yet. I don't think he's been peeled yet. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because you see Sean Clarida. I mean, obviously this is a touched up photo, but you can see just the details and the vascularity and the fullness. Like, he's nailing really all 3 aspects there, and it just sort of shows like how good he is. And you can see obviously in guest posing, he doesn't, his physique doesn't flow as well, but he looks absolutely like, he looks like he's put on more mass again. So he's, 198 pounds there. I don't know how much he competes at like last year, but I know he's well under that, which obviously, he's still got a bit of conditioning, or a lot of conditioning to go. But it's hard to imagine him even getting beaten this year, because Derek Lunsford only has so much he can sort of gain. But do either of you guys think Derek Lunsford can actually win the 212 Olympia this year? Or do you think that he's just too close to the cap and these other shorter guys sort of have that advantage over him?
I honestly thought he was going to go into opens. I really did.
I did too.
So did I.
Because this was around, I think,
I won't go and say that he can't win it. Like, he's another guy with one of the most craziest genetics that I've seen in regards of, like, his prep photos when he's in prep are some of the freakiest shots of any division. Yeah. So I often will look at his photo and I'm more freaked out about some of the shots than what even a Brandon photo, to be honest. Like, his shots are freaky, but all I have to look at when it comes down to it is what if it doesn't translate to stage. And then when someone doesn't bring it like 3 or 4 times in a row, you start to think, oh, can they bring it? And Ramy did that, and then eventually he came back, so that sort of kills that argument. But Ramy has all the weight to play with in the world, so just has to nail conditioning. Where Derek's got another curveball, he can't just nail conditioning. He's got to nail conditioning and then make the weight without flattening himself out or killing himself. And sometimes when guys kill themselves too hard to make the weight, they can't fill up properly. So he's got a bit of a complicated setup, what Derek does to deal with. But in saying that, he's going to have one of the best backs in the show. Him and George Peterson would have the two best backs.
I think by bringing Harney on board too, Harney's a damn good coach, mate. So if anyone can get Derek, that's what he's going to do. If anyone can get him under that 212 and still look freaky, full and hard, I think Harney can do it. It'll be interesting to see. Personally, I'd love to see him in the open zone.
Yeah, I agree. I think it opens with like, you know, the handbrake off. He can just gain a lot of mass and just look, you know, freaky like he is now. You know, apparently he was 250 to 255 pounds in his off season. So getting down, and he wasn't fat either. So getting down to 212, obviously maybe he can, you know, suffer down to 212 and then try to fill back up a little bit again, maybe get to 218, 220, but it's like, that's still a huge drop. It's, you know, still 30, 35 pounds. As you've obviously had experience, you know, when you're making under 90s and stuff like that of, you know, pulling your weight right down, like how do you think it affects your physique? Do you think it affects it really negatively?
Some guys it does, like they flatten out so much and then they just can't fill up properly. You know, I've had it with from a coaching aspect as well, where I've depleted guys and you're filling them up and it just doesn't, you push it too far. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's a fine line. I only had to deal with it for like one. I've always been lucky that I've never had to really deal with it. Like I've always been sort of winning in whatever class I was when I was actually one of the lightest ones. Almost every time I've competed, I was one of the lighter ones. Even when I won the under 90s for my pro card, I was actually like 87 kilos. So I didn't have to, do you know what I mean? So I never had to kill myself to get under 90. And even at the Olympia, I could have probably, I probably couldn't have. I couldn't have, if I was an amateur, I couldn't compete under 90. I was 91, but that was, 91 was to the death. That was as low as I could ever get to. But at Olympia, I almost feel like I pushed it too far as well. I feel like I was ready 3 weeks out and I feel like I could have competed at 94. Yeah. You know, but yeah, some guys like Derek, I think it's no doubt with Derek because the legs for him just seem to disappear a little bit when he goes at the last point in of the prep. Like it's amazing the difference between most guys are opposite. Like my legs tend to look bigger when I'm getting leaner, where he'd look amazing at the start of a prep and throughout the prep, and then they sort of fade drastically at the end.
Yeah, like, it's going to be interesting to see if he can hold it like this time around.
More than anyone that I've ever seen happens with him. Like, yeah. You know, I feel like that's his downfall because, like, you can't say, yeah, his condition's not as good as the others, but he has shredded glutes.
Yeah, it's weird. You know? Like his glutes are like inside out, like peeled to the bone. Like I've never seen anything like it because from the front, he looks like he pulls up and does a front double bicep at the last Olympia, and he looked honestly soft. Then he turned around to the back, and you're like, he's shredded. Like, what's happening?
He's a genetic anomaly in so many ways, Derek. In so many ways. His legs do the opposite of most others, really. His back is like, he's extremely wide, the widest human that I've seen at that height. And he's the opposite in the condition. Like for me and most other guys, I get lean from the front first thing. Like 6 weeks in, 8 weeks into a prep, I'm almost ready to go from the front. That's how quick the front happens. And for me, I've got to kill myself to get the rear in. And every other bodybuilder is usually the same. You've got to go to a real shitty place to get the glutes and lower back and hamstrings and those little tie-ins in. Well, Derek seems to be the opposite of that, where he's leaner from the rear, but like you say, he's definitely from the front. It's just like it's a nice look, but it's like a soft sort of. Put him next to Sean Clarida, and Sean's got grainy vascular veins, like detailed striations everywhere. Like I competed against both of them. Right, obviously I stood right next to them. I've seen it. Sean's like a really freaky, grainy, like it's like a little mini Ronnie Coleman look. Yeah. You know, where Derek's sort of front on just sort of looks a little bit guest pose-ish, to be honest. Like, you know, and then at the same token, he's got a crazy shape. So he tends to be a bit of an anomaly, Derek. But I hope that him and Harney can work it out and we can see the best Derek ever. Because imagine if he comes in peeled, best ever. Sean always nails conditioning. He will not miss conditioning. You can guarantee that. Yeah. And you got Sean in his best ever. George. He's always on condition, him and his best ever. And then I think if Keone can nail it as well, plus, yeah, there you go.
Still a threat.
it'll be, imagine how good that top 6 will be. Was that 6 I said? 5? Yeah,
something like that.
It'll be crazy. Like, I'd love to see it, but like always, someone's going to miss the boat, and most likely. But
yeah, there's a ton of great guys, though, honestly. But there's like the
I respect bodybuilders like Sean that never miss the condition. Like Sean's going to nail the condition every time he competes. I've never seen him out of shape.
Yeah.
So
100%.
it's like Dexter. It's like, when Dexter competes, like it's just the same. He's always on the money.
Yeah, always shredded. But do you guys want to get? So I'll actually get your predictions as well for the Olympia. So Aaron, who, if you had to put your money on it, who wins that 212 Olympia?
I have to say, I'd like to say Keone is, because he's the most genetically gifted bodybuilder I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Sean, because there's no doubt Sean's gotten better. He just won. His condition is the most consistent, and he's drastically gotten better, I reckon, in the last 6 months. And I'm just gonna stick with the repeat for Sean.
Mick, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree, because I think we're going to see an even better Sean than last year. That momentum's going to carry him for another year. You just look at his Instagram videos of him training; he's like a maniac with those weights.
Yeah.
But I do see Keone probably sitting in second. But I just
I'd love to see that.
Overall condition, Sean will take it.
Yeah, you know what? That'd probably be my exact prediction as well, because you got to imagine, like Keone, he hasn't had that weight restriction. Like, obviously he has it, but he's not going to top it out. You know what I mean? At this point, so he's probably going to be around that 200 and something pounds, but it's not going to be pushing towards 212. So he's got plenty of room to sort of move there. Plus, he's got the crazy shape. As long as he brings that conditioning in, and that's sort of the one thing that he hasn't hit 100%, I wouldn't say as yet. But if he can actually do that, and obviously with more time in the gym and stuff, more mature muscle, and obviously, as you guys know, like the longer you're in the gym, the muscle changes. You know what I mean? You get more of that detail and more of that sort of graininess to it, and that's just what he needs at this point, and that's about it, because he's got every other sort of gift in the book, and he seems like a hard trainer and seems very dedicated to the lifestyle. So looking forward to seeing it. But yeah, I totally agree. Sean Clarita, I think, will win the Olympia in 2021 in the 212s. But let's move on. Let's talk about the Puerto Rico Pro a little bit, where Akeem Williams won it, but it wasn't totally, I suppose, some people say in convincing fashion, and some people say potentially Mohammed Shaban could have won it. So we're going to start with you, Mick, and I'll pull up some photos while we're talking as well. What did you think of the Puerto Rico Pro? Did Akeem deserve to win it? And what did you think of Mohammed Shaban?
Well, I thought it was better than what we anticipated. I said the guys in the top 4 or 5 look pretty damn good. I had Akeem winning just from the pictures I'd seen. I don't think it was a better physique than the Olympia, though, and mainly because his stomach definitely looked washed out in the Olympia last year, and I think his back's still an area that's got to come up. I mean, even you look at the front lats here, front on as well. There's something looks a bit sort of weird with those lats, but from the rear they were still a bit soft, and that stomach and his ab pose there, I mean, it was definitely wasn't as tight as what it was at the Olympia last year.
Yeah, you can see on side tricep there. It's not in as tight.
His side shots are sick, aren't they? Like his side tricep, his side chest, because of that thickness and that width of the quad. It's just nuts. That's where I noticed his abs as well. They just look, I don't know, they're just a bit washed out.
I don't think they're too bad. I mean, like what I see in this pose as well, like obviously the quads look super hard, like his medialis is striated like crazy, and he's like vastus lateralis. So it's like he's got the details in the legs, but then you sort of look in the shoulders through like the shoulder chest tie-in area. For some reason, it doesn't get very hard on him. Like it just, you don't see the same details as you see a bit through the chest, see it through the legs, but you don't quite see it through the shoulders chest area. That's one thing that I always noticed that I never hear anyone actually mention. Like, have you guys noticed that at all?
Yeah, I've heard it mentioned. I've heard multiple pros that I've spoken to. That seems to be the thing with him. He's a monster. He's got crazy side shots, but like I agree with what Galley says, where the lats just look a bit funny to me, and he'll never ever. You have the crazy details, like even the top of the rhomboids. Like, see the top of the rhomboids and that they should be striated and dry.
Yeah,
and they're sort of soft, and the shoulders, like the delts.
Yeah,
they have a film on them, and it's just, it could be an inflammation thing or whatever it is, but it will never be there. And even the lower back is not dry or detailed. So this is why he doesn't tend to do much damage in the Olympia and stuff. Like, you need to put a photo up right now of, even though it's a bit harsh to say, but put a photo of Ronnie or Dorian and look how dry their back is.
Yeah. I still think,
So,
like, obviously he brought probably even maybe more fullness in the Olympia. I think, like, you look at this shot, he's bursting full. Like, you see some of
oh,
them,
he's super full. Yeah, no doubt, super full. And the leg,
crazy.
I like the leg details. See the tie-ins go all the way. If you go back to the front shot, I like the leg details, that especially to have the guys to have the tie-ins all the way to the top of the trunks there. See how he's got like a deep separation all the way to the top of the trunks?
Yeah, it looks awesome.
That's done him huge favors. The details of the legs that's done him massive favors. But another thing, like Galley says, you can see the abdominal wall, how it's a little bit washed out. And the reason he was exposed a little bit there is Shaban. You look at Shaban's photos. Is that how you say his name, Shaban?
Yep. Shaban, I don't know what it is.
His abdominal wall was really on point. Like he's look at his abs there. It was good. And when you see his ab shots on the side, his serratus and everything was really good. And his legs are amazing too.
Yeah.
So I sort of thought he was going to win. But to be honest, like if I look at it back and forth, it's like I listened to the podcast of Fui's podcast, and they sort of said it was a flip of the coin. I tend to agree. It could just be a flip of the coin. Like if he won, I would not have blinked an eyelid if he won, or the other way around. But he's got a pretty good physique. Shaban. See the abdominals, that's just a nice waist, pretty nice waist for it. And look how thick the legs are.
Yeah, but legs, man, that's the one thing that came up like absolute crazy. I mentioned it actually in a video, but I've recorded it. It's literally going to go up as soon as this show finishes, basically. The transformation he made, I'll look up his coach's Instagram, because he posted up a transformation from the Olympia in 2019 to obviously the Puerto Rico Pro, which was on the weekend of him. And look at the leg difference here. It's actually insane.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. And
actually, I remember that. I remember that. I remember that showing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Even the arms. Look at the arms.
Yeah, it's crazy. 219 pounds at the Olympia that year. And then he was 243.6 pounds at the Puerto Rico Pro. So he's gained crazy amounts of muscle. And I also heard on Fuad's podcast, I think Iain Valliere said that that he's only been training for 5 years or something. And I'm like, if that's the case, I'm like, what's this dude's potential? Because if he's been training for 5 years, or maybe it was 5 years to that Olympia, I'm not sure. But his potential is through the roof if he's made these sorts of gains in only just over 1.5 years. And he's only been training for 5 years. It's like, how far can this guy actually go? Because he's the quality where, some people said he could have beaten Patrick a couple of weeks ago. Some people saying he could have beaten Akeem, who got top 6 in the Olympia. Even if Akeem wasn't at his very best, it's still pretty crazy to
I don't see him getting top. I don't see him getting top 6 in the Olympia, but to be honest,
yep.
But
this year or ever?
No, not this year. No way.
Yeah, but ever?
No. Oh, ever? No, I'm definitely not going to say not ever. If I looking at that transformation, like, no, I couldn't definitely not say not ever. If I was the thing that's costing him at the moment, I think, even though how much he's improved, but it's not a who's most improved type show. Do you know what I mean? His clavicle width and like his width from the front is what's hurting him the most. So like even the front double, see how the back and the clavicle width is not super wide. Yeah. So in the open, guys, like they're even Patrick, who gets knocked for not being big enough, he's pretty wide up top.
Yeah.
So he's just a little bit narrow because he's practically a 212 guy that's just moved. Like the year before, 219 pounds, he's 7 pounds off a 212 weight,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But obviously 243 is way above.
Yeah, if he can just get a little bit wider up top, there's no doubt he could win. Definitely. He could have won this show and I wouldn't have blinked. He could have won 2 shows already and I would have blinked an eyelid. So, it could be a multiple open winner soon. Definitely. Especially that transformation is actually crazy, to be honest.
It is crazy. Like it's like nothing I've really seen before in that period of time from a guy who's already on the Olympia stage and then making such big improvements. So I think it's
wasn't Patrick the same thing? Wasn't he only training for a few years as well, Patrick Moore?
I think, his was only a very short period as well. But like, it seems like all these real genetically freaky guys, like they all tend to seem to be able to do that. Like they seem to be able to have like a few years where they just absolutely explode. And as like for you it was a bit different. I feel like you were more like just like very steady, making very good gains every year. But some guys just tend to explode in like 2 years and they're just freaks,
Yeah, I guess there's multitude of factors that could be the answer there. But a lot of them guys that blow up on the scene like that usually were athletes of some sort beforehand. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
some more football players, or like, you know, Phil Heath was a basketball player. Like, the athletes tend to just go bang, you know?
yeah, absolutely.
But,
100%.
yeah.
But let's discuss a few of the other guys in the lineup as well, because we had that William Martins guy. Did anyone see him and what he looked like? Because he was pretty crazy, if I can find any of his photos.
I've actually only seen the photos of the top three. I didn't see the other ones.
That's another guy called, I think is it William Martins, Mick?
Yeah. I was just he did look good, man. He actually looked really good in most shots, but he had a strange looking, like, if you look at his front double bicep when you see him, where is he there? His front double bicep, if they show it, it's just a strange midsection and ribcage area. But you look at what he looks.
Front double bicep is the most difficult pose in bodybuilding. Do you agree? I reckon it.
Yeah.
The front double bicep is the most vulnerable pose in bodybuilding, because it has to be said, because when you open up from the front and you hit it, like, it just exposes you so much. Like, don't you think, between the top of the top guys and the ones that are not the top tier, second tier, third tier, it's the front double bicep that tends to separate them, because you can't hide anything in that pose.
No, I looked terrible. Like, obviously I was only doing classic, but I looked terrible in a front double bicep. I was like, how do I make this pose actually look good? Like, it just exposed every single one of my weaknesses on my physique. And I was just like, I don't want to do this pose anymore. Like, I'll just hit it and then just try to move quickly. So I'm like distracting away from the pose. Like, I just hated it. But
you hit it you hit it pretty good in regards of your posing though. But just so many guys you see. How many guys do you see? The most muscular, even a back or a side chest, you're like, he's really good. Then he hits a front double and you're like, oh, like, it's just brutal pose, I reckon.
Yeah.
You know?
And you can't see it as much in this photo, but it almost looks like someone grabbed his waist and pulled it down and just made his leg shorter. Like, you can't see it as much there. And his midsection just sits a little weird. You can see it on the hands on hips, most muscular as well. But for his pro debut, like, the dude looked pretty awesome. He placed 7th. Many people thought he should have been a bit higher, because he brought fullness, he brought conditioning.
That's a good shot. Yeah.
That's a mad shot.
Yeah, it's a very, very good shot for coming 7th in a smaller pro show.
This is what I mean, bro. Like if you're just seeing that shot, you're like, holy shit, that's a mad shot. Like, he looks really, really good. Then your front double, it's just nowhere near that same level of the.
He looks like Aaron Madden in that page. Do you remember that guy, Xavier, years ago? Aaron Madden?
Aaron Madden? No, I'm not sure.
Yeah, 20 odd years. Exactly the same in that picture. Like, anyone who's listening here that's been around for a while, like myself. Same delts, same legs, same hair almost.
I got him confused with someone else. I thought there's a German bodybuilder that actually did the Arnold Classic Columbus when we were amateurs. 2015, he won the overall. He was German. I forget his name. I thought that was him.
Yeah.
Oh, for real. Yeah, he looks like a few people. He almost looks like a young Dennis Wolf as well.
Yeah. I can't remember his name, but
he's a bit
Let's discuss Guy Sistinino. So he obviously was sort of predicted to win. He definitely didn't look his best. You can see in this photo here where his midsection looks a little bit washed out. He's still got the conditioning in certain body parts, but he just didn't look near his best. And then he talked a bit about it on Fuad's podcast as well, and just saying that he thought he was flat and didn't, but he decided, Chris Aceto, his coach, was saying he should use an extra diuretic, and he's like, nah, he doesn't think he should, so he didn't use them. So, and then he also said as well, which I found really interesting. He's like, look, I can't afford to be off again. He said, I'm at the end of my career. And then he sort of said, I've been with Chris for a long time. And it sounded like maybe he's actually leaving Chris Aceto. I don't know if he's actually going to or not, or if he's just sort of thinking about it. But I found that interesting as well, because he's been with Aceto for like most of his career, at least as far as I know, at least the last, at least 6 or so years. But Aaron, what do you think? What went wrong for Guy Sistinino? And like, do you think that he should retire? Because that's been the thing that's been thrown around. My opinion is that he can retire whenever the hell he wants to retire. And like, if he's getting second in pro shows and stuff, keep competing. But obviously this is not his best look.
I find it odd that someone that's sort of been in the game hit that long with the same coach, is missing missing the condition, and then not knowing what it is. Like, I thought you were going to tell me that there was a mistake or he was sick or something. But, if you look at guys like Dexter and guys that have been doing this for a long time, they tend to they find their routine, find their rhythm, and they just tend to be consistent. Yeah. But he's fairly off here, especially off his best. Like I said about the tie-ins of the legs, like the legs are his strong part, but he's a little bit flat, because see the top of the tie-ins only stop about where his thumb is. It doesn't go all the way to the top of the trunks.
Yeah, and you can see on the other leg as well, there's no real detail. Like, I mean, you can sort of see a little bit.
The other leg, he's also the hitting that post slightly off. Like if he bends that rear leg a little bit, he's locking the knee out so the quads relax. If he bends the knee a little bit so the weight is not on the joint and it's actually on the muscle, he'll get more separation there. So that's a combination of not doing that pose exactly right, which is his most famous pose, which is odd. But also he's definitely flat. Like you say, that part of the quad there, every part that's visible to the crowd needs to be on point. Everything needs to be straight and dry, and he's just definitely off. And I could see when he come out, but it wasn't the strongest lineup either. But I'm not sure. Yeah, in regards to retirement, that's obviously not for me to say. But I don't think he'll retire off that. I don't think. Look at that shot to the left there. The quads, they look better there. Go back to that shot that it was there on the start when you just clicked on it.
Up here.
Even there, they're better. See, look like. So go back to that shot before you just had on them, bro.
The one on stage.
The tie-ins go. You had it before, but even that there, the tie-ins go fairly high on that stage shot. He's tie-ins don't go. Yeah, this one. See, look, there's the thumb. That's the same pose, yeah.
Yep.
Look above the thumb. See that little tie-in?
Yep.
Above the thumb, that's not there in that stage shot. So his legs, he looks better there.
Yeah. Do you think he's crunched too far over on his midsection as well, or no?
He's crunched too far over in this shot, but look at the leg. Look at the difference in the fullness of the legs. That tie-in above his thumb is non-existent in the stage shot. It's not at all. Yep. Even that rear leg looks better conditioned because it's still that little split there still goes halfway up the leg. So he's better there than he is on stage. So
I agree.
He could over-direct. I don't know.
Yeah, you just don't know, man.
I love, mate, let's face it, look, Guy leaves everything in the gym. If you watch his Instagram stories, he goes all out. But if you listen to him on Foyad's podcast as well, he has discussed a fair bit of, obviously he's pretty, I don't know if he's 40 now or close.
He's 38, 39.
Yeah, and he's starting to say how his body's not working the same. There's certain things not trying. And unfortunately, that's just what happens as you get close to 40, dude. As I bloody know, look, your body just, unless you're a genetic freak like Dexter, which is 1 in a million, your body just changes so much. So that just could be a factor in it as well. I don't think
makes you realize how good Dexter is.
Oh, man. Dude, when you look at guys like that, or even Sean Roden when he won the Olympia at 42, 43, like it's nuts to be able to look that good as they did in their 40s, or Dexter up to 50 years of age. That's crazy. And that level of conditioning.
Think about the consistency of conditioning. I can't think in my head right now ever that I can see that where Dexter's coming really badly off.
I don't think there was one. I think it was it was around 2010 or 2012 where he had a couple of. What's that?
There's 1 or 2 years there where he's just like slightly missing it.
They were just slightly off, and he was actually just about to retire, and that's when he hooked up with George. But even for Dexter, that was still on. Like for anyone else, that was crazy conditioning. But for Dexter, everyone's like, oh shit, maybe he's on his way out. And then he just changed his whole physique again and just looked incredible for another 7-8 years.
Yeah, because it was only really a few years after he won the Olympia, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's getting old now. He's going to drop off. This is the drop off here."
Yeah,
it's like he almost went for 10 more years. Like that's insane. Like it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to imagine that his record for wins will ever be broken, or if it is, it'll be by some.
It will never happen again.
Yeah, it's unlikely. It's very unlikely.
No
one wants to compete that much either. So yeah, it's super unlikely that will happen again. But let's move on. Let's discuss the Olympia point standing. I'm going to pull up the point standing on my screen now because obviously it's updated since that last contest. So I'll go over the guys that are qualified so far. So we've got James Hollingshead, Regan Grimes, Mumdu Elsbaye, which is Big Rami, Brandon Curry, Phil Heath, Hardy Chupin, William Bonac, Justin Rodriguez, Nick Walker, Patrick Moore, and Akeem Williams. The point standing, so top 3 qualify in the points. We've got Muhammad El Aman, he's on 15. Hassan Mustafa, he's also on 15. We've got a 5-point gap down to Muhammad Shaban. Then Dorian Hayward on 8. Vlad, no idea how to say his last name, on 6. Ben Theo on 6. Andrea Presti on 4. Mark Hector on 3. And then the list sort of goes down to guys on, 1 to sort of 3 points. And we'll go the 212s as well. So we've got Angel Calderon Frias. You've got Sean Clarita, Kamala Gagni, George Peterson, Derek Lunsford, Ahmad Ashkenani, Tony O'Burton, Nathan Epler, and Piotr. I don't even know how to say that. Puerto. He's also qualified, been top 3 on points. John Jewett's on 11. Radislav Angelov, he's on 10. Noel Adami on 8. Derek Oslin on 6. Guy Snino on 6, and then a bunch of other names as well. So, boys, what are we thinking about, obviously, the Olympia point standings and who's qualified so far for the Open and 212 Mr. Olympia? I'll go with you first, Mick. What do you think?
I mean, the Open so far looks really, really good. The only one that you would say probably won't be in it will be Phil. The rest of those guys are bloody awesome. And if you add the couple of guys in the point standing that will get in, that's a pretty solid lineup, mate. I'm really looking forward to seeing that one play out. A few of those guys have had the whole year off, like Hattie, Bonac, Brandon, Rami have had that whole year to get ready for this comp. So that's going to be, I'm looking forward to that.
It's going to be great. As also I heard as well that I actually did a video on this. This will be out before this video goes up as well, so I can sort of mention it. But Phil Heath did an interview with it's Brian, I can't remember his last name, from London Real, and he sort of like was asked directly from Brian. He said, are you going to do the Mr. Olympia in 2021? And Phil just said, he said, that's a conversation I'm still having in my household, blah, blah, blah. And then sort of said that. And then he said he's leaning more towards no at this point, but you never know. So I'd say that pretty much means he's out of the Olympia in 2021. But what was interesting, he also talked a bit about, he said, Arnold stepped away from the stage and pursued other things. And then he came back. He's like, I should be allowed that sort of same luxury and stuff, which obviously he is. He's qualified for life. But I think it just means in terms of people giving him a chance, when he sort of comes back, which I found pretty interesting. So I'm assuming that Phil won't do 2021, but may compete 2022, 2023, possibly.
Arnold was 32 though when he came back.
Exactly. I was going to say Arnold was only 32 or 33. I mentioned that in my video as well. So I did mention that, and Phil will have at least over 10 years on him. And obviously he's got the hernia issues and stuff like that as well. So that's one thing. But who to ask about the Olympia lineup? Az, what do you think about it? Because I didn't ask you. What do you think about, obviously, I'll start with the 212s. You got obviously a bunch of really good names in there. You should be actually in there, but unfortunately, Australia won't allow that. But what do you think about the lineup in the 212s?
I feel like the 212s, the lineup is short. Like, it should have more numbers than that. Is that a short lineup? They're gonna have because you usually end up with like 20. Like the year I did, it was 23 competitors. So you've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
Like, are they gonna get another 10, 11 in there, or?
No, they won't, because there's only so many shows left. I don't know how many 212s there are. I think there's probably about 4 shows to qualify, I'd say, approximately, give or take a couple shows.
So because of COVID now, because of COVID, we're actually going to have a less man lineup, which that sucks, to be honest.
It does, yeah.
And saying that, I'm not saying that sucks, because it's going to be a really short lineup with not amount of people in it, but it is a quality lineup. It is a really quality lineup. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And you're going to have probably Keone in there as well.
I know every single name there pretty well. Yeah, Tony Burton's the one you interviewed, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a pretty good lineup, man. Like, it's a very quality lineup. I will say that. It's going to actually be, in regards of it being only 9 or 10 at the moment, that's going to be one of the most quality filled lineups. I think if you look back, if they all compete, that I've seen. So John Jewett's definitely going to get in regardless, but I think he'll get a win anyway. How many extra? Are they going to allow extra people to qualify on points this year, or is it same rules as always? Usually 2 qualifiers.
It just says top 3 qualify. So that was the rules they started with at the start of the year, and then they've just sort of rolled with that. So there's obviously less shows to qualify, so there'll be less competitors there. So we're looking at probably 9 plus, to say, another 3 guys qualify, and then you got top 3 on points. So you're looking at about 15 guys, I'd say.
I would change that, man. I know it's a no point in arguing about it, but I would have made at least 5 on points, because I like to see like 20 in the Olympia. You know what I mean?
I'm the same, yeah.
That's me personally. It just seems funny with it really short, because what if some people get injured too? You got to allow for that.
Yeah, exactly. Or they can't get in because COVID, so you get it down to 12-man lineup. That would feel a little bit small for me. Like, I like to see, maximum amount of guys coming out, pretty much. Not maximum, but like 20 guys. I like 20 guys in a lineup at the Olympia, any class.
Well, if you let 5 in, guys in there will just scrape in, But
obviously there's more shows, so he might not scrape in. But he's doing 10.
Yeah, but I have John Jewett winning, so he'll be removed off that list.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing sort of what goes down at the 212 Olympia. But let's move on. Aaron, let's discuss what went down during the week. You posted up something on your Instagram page. Obviously, Iain Valliere sort of called you out a while ago on, what was it? I don't know if it's Bodybuilding and Bollocks or Bro Chat or whatever podcast it was on. I heard it was actually only on originally on the audio version, which I listened to the YouTube version because I just downloaded and listened to it off there. So I never actually heard him say that he thinks you had the weakest chest in bodybuilding or one of the weaker chests. But what was actually said in the first place?
I actually haven't watched it either. I only got told. I should actually go back and watch it. But they were sort of talking about, like, let's name some worst body parts in bodybuilding. And from what I heard, Iain said, like, they were saying Palumbo's stomach and like a few other body parts, and he said he would just rattled off my name in regards of a weak chest. And I don't know if you have the clip or not to play, but
I don't have that one. No.
Yeah, he rattled it off, and it got sent to me, and then I was like, fuck, it's a big call, you know, like I don't have the strongest chest, but the
Pretty
weakest
brutal.
chest. And I damned him about it. He's like, bro, I can't even remember it. And he's like, oh, did I say that? And then I thought I was speaking to Flex Lewis about it. And I was like, he's like, oh, just run with it. Like, we'll just stir it up a little bit. So I thought I posted it on social media and tagged all of them. But obviously at that point, how do you say his name? Fui or Fowie or Fui?
Fuad.
It's hard to say.
You both
Fuad.
pronounce it totally wrong.
Fuad.
Both. It's like
Fuad,
ways.
Fuad deleted it, bro, and he tried to delete it, and he forgot he didn't delete the audio version, so he deleted the main one of the YouTube and didn't delete the audio. So because he obviously didn't want a negative subject online, and then he forgot, and I messaged him as well, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, bro, but they spoke about it. They did a follow up chat on it the other day, and it was actually went down pretty well. Like, they reviewed it, and then they were saying, like, Fuad's like, bro, Aaron's chest is pretty good and all this stuff, and
Yeah.
it started being really nice of him, and he's like, oh, it suits his body, and I don't know what you're talking about. And then Ian's like, fuck, I fucking take it back now. And they were pretty nice about it, you know, like, and they were like commending me on taking the shit well, like not blowing up it. As we all know, I'm used to taking, like, in Australia, we all give each other shit a lot, you know. So I've got thick skin in regards of shit being hung on me.
Yeah,
you know?
I like this as well. You can see here, Flex Lewis, team no chest. What the fuck is that about at Aaron Place?
Yeah.
That's a good shot too. That's a good one to put up straight away.
Yeah, I actually asked Flex which one I should put up, and he's like, that one, you know. But like Flex, me and obviously we speak a lot, and we have similar problems with our physique. Like, where our delts and our arms sort of overpower when we bench press. So that's why our chests don't sort of respond as good as my arms and delts do. So, but it ended up being pretty good, to be honest, because I got more publicity out of it, and then they were speaking pretty nicely about me on the show anyway. So
but they were pretty cool, and I love that they went through this like Xavier is now, and they picked out some really good shots as well of you, and they had a good chat. And like you said, Iain was cool. Iain's like, fuck, I had to say something. And
yeah, and then Iain said, oh, fuck, I didn't. Remember, me and Iain have the same coach, so he just sees my photos a lot. And I'll show you the photo what he said. My chest looks shithouse in the off season. I'll be the first one to say, when I get lean, like, my chest gets striated and shredded.
Yeah, I was going to say,
look too bad, but in the off season, like, find any off. Yeah, if you find any off season shot anywhere, there should be a few in there. It just looks flat. And he found the one it's in my mum's wardrobe. I was at my mum's house. She's got a good mirror there, and he's found that it's an off side of a prep or something. And he's just like, oh, it looks super flat there. That's why it popped into his head, and he said that, you know, because if you look at the Indie Pro one, looks, but that's like one of the ones there. See how flat it looks?
Yeah, it looks really flat there, but as soon as you get in shape, like, it's like it goes out more and just.
Yeah, when I get in shape, and I'm the first to admit it doesn't hang like others. But obviously, I'm very wide for my height. Like, for someone that's 5'4", my clavicle width is super wide. And I feel like it just flattens my chest out, and it just doesn't pop. That's the one he's talking about. That was the photo he's talking about.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Like, there's worse shots than that one. I'm surprised that if there's that one you posted before was worse than this one.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's 100% right. Bro, off season my chest looks like a pancake, and it just doesn't. But when I get lean, it pops more. But
how's your calves there compared to?
Yeah, but like we've all got our weak points. You can't hurt my feelings, bro. Like I'm content with what I've achieved before in and off the stage. So like, there's nothing you can really say where I'm going to go cry myself to sleep. I'm just not like that, you know. I'm aware. I'm not a fool. I know what needs to come up. If I could change my physique, I would have a more denser back, more 3D back, and have a bigger chest. Maybe a little bit more quad sweep. That's what my priorities are. I'm not delusional to what I need, but we all have our problems. Like Iain threw himself under the bus as well and said that he had the worst calves. So yeah. I found it funny that at least he threw himself under. He goes, fuck, I picked myself for the worst calves. I can't pick myself for the worst calves and the worst chest. So I liked that. I liked how they took it. They like how I took it. It was actually pretty funny in the end, you know. So and
they all give and take the piss equally. It's great. I love that.
Yeah. Iain's like, oh, you know how those Australians are, how they just take the piss. Like he said something like that where we're used to banter, which I like the fact that we're labeled like that we can handle a bit of banter.
Yeah. It's funny. I noticed like more Americans on average, like there's a bunch that are like good. You can take the piss with them and stuff. But like some are just super sensitive. Like I've had like pros message me and be so offended at something that I said. And I go back and listen to it. I'm like, really? Like they're upset about that? And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm like, I can't be bothered dealing with that person. Like I'll probably never interview you again, or like I've never interviewed you. But yeah, it's just funny, man. Like some guys get offended at, and I'm like, it's not like I'm ruining their reputation or whatever. And like, if I do say something and it's not right or it's not true, then I get slammed in the comments anyway. And people more like, you know, want to support that bodybuilder if they think I've given them like a raw deal on what I've said or whatever. So I don't think it really makes any difference, but guys just tend to get offended. I don't know why, but it just tends to happen, unfortunately. But
imagine being a pro bodybuilder and not being able to take criticism. Like that's literally this entire sport is like getting ripped apart and criticized on your physique, on socials, on the stage. You're standing practically naked. Like it's something that I just don't care. People can say whatever they want. I know what I tend to agree with usually what they say, you know. So you just got to cop it. You got to learn to be. It's part of being a pro bodybuilder, I guess, is learning how to just, I guess, not listen to the noise. Guys know what they need to work on. They're not delusional. People know what their problems are.
Yeah, totally agree. Now we'll move on to the last topic, and I want to discuss it, and I want to leave it to the end of the show as well, because some people absolutely hate hearing about Kai Greene. But Kai Greene has posted up a few things lately. I'll bring it up as well, just so we can see it. That basically suggests that he may be competing. Redcon One posted up on there, said, which show is Kai doing? Which is obviously his main sponsor. He lives down there. Obviously, they're in contact every day. So it's what they're putting out is obviously planned. To me, it would be strange if now he doesn't compete, just because of, obviously everyone thinks that he's not going to compete at this point because he's teased everyone so many times. But it seems strange to me, and I've heard, you know, so many rumors around it, you know, that it's in his contract and all that sort of stuff, that if he didn't compete, and he's looking like, you know, he's training really hard, he hasn't really stopped at all. And when he posted up this follow-up the other day as well. So Mick, I'll get your opinion. What do you think about Kai Greene at this point? Are you sick of him, or do you think he'll come back and just sort of shock everyone?
No, man, I'm not sick of seeing his stuff going up. I like seeing how he looks when he posts pictures and stuff like that. But I still don't know about this competing. I would hope if he was going to compete, he'd say now. It's only like 14 weeks out. It was not 15 weeks out.
Yeah, well, so, apparently, they said about when they posted another post the other day when this was posted up, these photos. Let's have a look at what it says. I think it says something along the lines of like, wait until we go live next week or something. Or like they don't want, or Aaron said something like, I won't believe it, wait till we go live. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I hope so, yeah, because that build up then will be next level towards the Olympia. You know, they're going to build it up as Kai versus Ramy versus Brandon versus Hattie. You look at that would be a sick lineup. Like us three, I would love to be able to fly over there to watch this comp, dude.
Yeah. And here, this is what Kai said in response to Aaron Singman. He said, at Aaron Singman, they'll still doubt it. No worries. We're going live this week. And then did a little looking eyes emoji. So to me, that
was 5 days ago.
Yeah, that was 5 days ago. So he said, going live this week. So maybe today. I don't know, because obviously it's Sunday morning in America right now, so maybe it's today, maybe it's tomorrow, but there might be an announcement any day now. So hopefully we see that. But I don't know. What do you think, Aaron? Do you think he's going to compete or not?
It sounds like he's competing to me.
Yeah, to me too.
Like, I don't want to keep. Well, I haven't gone in the record and said he's competing ever, but I think this time it sounds like he is. Like that one where he says they'll see we're going live. What else would he be talking about? You know?
Yeah.
And
like, if that's a tease, that's bad.
There was another status, bro, where his coach said we're first just good to be working back together again, or first week in or something. Did you see that?
Yeah, George Farah. I've actually was meant to actually screenshot that for my video. I think it was my story.
Saying, let's go. Like, otherwise, they've just started prep. So what are they prepping for? That to me, he's competing 100%.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was on George Farah's story. Unfortunately, I didn't screenshot that, but I may have actually screenshotted it earlier on my phone or something. But yeah, I did see something about George Farah saying working together like 4 weeks in or something like that. And I was just like, oh, like something's going on. Like he's doing something, whether it's the Arnold, the Olympia or what, I don't know. But to me, it would make sense for him to do both. Like, why not at this point? You know what I mean? Especially if he's got something in his contract. And this was posted up as well by Kai and said, hey, Philip, you didn't like or comment on my new photos. Can you say something so I know you saw them? Like he's just obviously like ramping things up and, you know, sort of just playing around a bit. But George Farah said something here. What he said, he didn't really say too much there. But yeah, it's interesting to me. I think Kai Greene will compete this year. I said it actually ages ago when he signed with Redcon One, because I spoke to Aaron Singman. I interviewed him and he said, his quote was, I didn't sign Kai not to compete. So that's what he said in the interview with me. And I'm like, and then I heard rumors as well, but it's in his contract that he has to compete. I don't know if it's at the Olympia, if it's at the Arnold or what, but I've heard that rumor as well by several people. So to me, he's competing. Like, I think he is. Like, if I had to put my life on the line, I'd say, yeah, he's competing this year. So
right, the returns that the sponsors get when you compete versus the returns that they get when you don't compete are massively different, bro.
Yeah,
because I can tell you, I sit down with Massive Joe's, even me alone, and their Massive Joe's are really full on with the way they track your social media, your reach, your sales. You should have seen my sales go through the roof. My Olympia prep, like there's like chart, and it goes like sort of gradually like this, and then Olympia prep starts, and it just gets. they like triple, man, and it just the preps, it just goes parabolic. And can you imagine someone like. That's me. Like that's just looking at mine alone. Imagine someone like Kai and that their whole brand, their stocks. You know, each athlete, you can say that they have their stocks go up. Do you know what I mean? Like it'd be parabolic when they compete versus when they don't compete. Everyone will be talking about Kai Greene once he announces that he's in the show. So they'll be heckling him for sure. All these sponsors and everything to be getting him to compete. But I reckon he is.
Yeah, I like the way your arm flew off when you went like this. You went up, and then your arm just went like it just goes right up.
I still love the fact he's sitting at the beach.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
That's what it should be.
But I want to do some listener questions. I didn't get the status up in time for this show, but I definitely want to do that next week. So everyone that's watching this as well, make sure that you put your listener questions either in the comments below this video. I'm also going to put up a post in the community tab on YouTube the day we record or the day before. And I'll also post it up on the Desktop Bodybuilding Instagram page as well. And I'll take as many questions from there as we can for the next episode next week. And we'll make sure we get onto this weekly. I've just literally moved house twice in a couple of weeks, and it's been literally crazy, and that's why I've got no green screen here right now as well, because we had like half the power go out before we started this podcast, so I had to quickly rush and move the computer to a different room. So but we're set up now at least anyway. So guys, do you have any final words? Like, do you want to say anything to anyone, or
you threw me under the bus there?
Do a little wing, wave to everyone.
It's hard to do it.
You're waving from where are you again? Fiji, or where are you?
I'm in Greece.
Oh, Greece. Oh, happy days.
I can't do it now. You put me on the spot. Hang on.
Oh. There it goes. Hang on.
No.
Oh, it doesn't work now.
The lighting's changed.
You framed me under. No, I just want to say thanks to my sponsors always. Food for Fitness for feeding me, and Massive Joe's for all my supplements and clothing, same as every week. But yeah, no other messages from me.
Mick, do you have anything, or same as last time?
Well, I don't compete anymore, so I've got no sponsor. I should thank ATP Science though for always looking after me.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Actually, that's our new protein flavors. We've got grape, pineapple, pink lemonade. You'll love that, Xavier. I'll send you some tubs over.
Oh, keen. I'll try it on the show. What's it off? What product?
The No Way, the new flavors for that.
Oh, nice. Yep. Keen. All right, boys. That's it for another episode of a weekly bodybuilding breakdown reloaded. That's episode 2. Episode 3 will be out next week. So make sure you get your questions in, post them in the comments below, and let us know as well what you thought on all the topics discussed in today's episode. So for Aaron Polides, Michael Galley, and myself, Xavier Wills, we are out.